Okay, note to self, because I said I'm gonna start doing these. Note to self, just because there are often times in which I forget um, what is taking place. I forget to take time to look at things objectively in my life because they are happening so fast. But looking at things objectively is one of the things that's necessary for my life. Um, and oftentimes find myself in the limbo of the two, looking at myself objectively and subjectively as I am the subject of my own life, right? But I'm just looking at, as a note to self, to remind myself as I am going through these changes in my reality that that's all that they are. I oftentimes am challenged with the changes, and I know I'm not by myself in that, but I'm trying to get myself out of the challenging part of it just because I understand that life is always changing. So the longer I stay in an emotional stronghold about those changes, the longer I keep myself stuck, right? So, just looking at some of the challenges with change for me and what I came across today is my uncomfortability and the dissonance between the two realities. Either the reality I'm shifting from and the reality I'm shifting to, um, or the reality I'm in versus the reality I see for myself. And the dissonance in between the two can be quite uncomfortable. And that's the part I'm trying to change, right? Because the dissonance lives in my emotional body. I have a lot of emotions attached to change, as we all do. But I'm trying to work on those so they don't keep me stuck. Because, like I said, change is inevitable. Um, and so one of the examples I really had to think about today, I was watching this movie Queen of Cotway, and it talked about this young lady, and I resonated with it just for a lot of reasons. But it was this young lady who was very gifted, but she lived in this very remote village in Africa that was very destitute, which that can cause a dissonance in itself, right? And so she began to play chess as a way to help her family out of poverty. And so in doing that, she got exposure to the way other people lived. And then when she had to come back home to where she lived, she was in a sort of dissonance, which, the mom explained it pretty weird. Well, pretty good, actually. She was like, she's seen how other people live and then she has to come back here. So she lives in this weird limbo place of nowhere. And myself, I resonate with that feeling, for multiple reasons. One is because, I'm a very gifted person, some people may think, and I grew up poor, right? But one of the things about that in my individual story, as we all are individuals, and I just had to, explain this to my grandmother the other day and like big her up because she was a part of why this was able to be a part of my experience, as our experiences are always overlapping. We don't do anything on this planet on our own, right? So when I was a very young person, I was like 11 or 12. In the sixth grade, I, being from Baltimore, West Baltimore, by Mondawmin Mall, if anybody knows where that is not, it's the hood. It's not the projects, but it's the hood, right? Um, as a young person in the sixth grade, I was able to travel to Europe. And I was in Europe for about a week. I spent 2 weeks, 10 days, a little, yeah, almost 2 weeks. I spent half that time in London and the other half of the time in Paris, which was an experience that I had very young. So when I came back home to my neighborhood, a couple of things happened. One, as a little person, I didn't ingest that experience to its full capacity because I was a little person, but I definitely came back with an understanding that people lived differently than the way I was living and the way people was living in my neighborhood, which automatically caused a dissonance for me as a young person. But that dissonance translated into imagination. Like I knew for a fact that other people lived other ways, other places because I had seen it, which made me for not settle for less, on top of the fact that I come from a family who doesn't really advocate settling for less. Like they are just not even that type of family, right? um which I guess is how a person like myself ended up going to Paris as a young person anyway, because my family had that intention for me, right? um It was a trip that was given at school. I saw it, got the permission slip, and I just thought like, damn, I'm gonna ask my mother, my grandma, my family if I can go on this trip. Never even thought that it would be something that I would be able to do, right? But they made sure that it was able to happen, which in my hindsight is an amazing experience to have. That's why I had to give it to my grandmother. She, in everything that she is or everything that she doesn't think that she is, has done a lot of amazing things in her life and in the lives of others that she may not even recognize, but me as an older person, I recognize, and I love her for that, right? But what that has done to me as a person is made me be a person that has been able to exist in a space and understand that this is not all it is, right? Which can be disconnecting unless you know exactly what to do about that. And so I guess that has been the journey for me, is figuring out how to make those two live together, right? I would always say to my brother, because I am this duality of things. I'm a girl who grew up in the hood, so I'm ratchet. I like chicken boxes, this, that, and the fourth, right? But I'm also a girl who was educated in some of the best schools in my city. And I went to, private school in summertime. And, I've traveled internationally, which those two things don't always necessarily go together in the statistics. And so I've had to really find my comfortability in being all of those things, right? And having that be a part of what I can add to this place, or to this planet. But first of all, letting it settle in me and letting it be okay in me, because I'm surround myself with people who have only seen this realm, and they're very entrapped, keyword, in this way of thinking, that these, like I've talked about many times, that this place that we exist in is the only place. And that could be because they've never ingested other places, or when they were other places, they never ingested that this is only just a lifestyle, that we're all living in different spaces, and that can change at any time. It's not locked in to anything except for your own desire, your own will that you have for yourself, and what the creator sees for you, right? And I do know for a fact that the environment in which I grew up in, which is poverty, the hood, can be a very dense, heavy, dark environment. And I know that that's not the only thing. Also, I know that the hood doesn't have to continue to exist that way. The hood is just a community, right? It's a community that has not had the best chances, in order to thrive, the best resources, the best support in order to thrive. It hasn't been given the right consciousness in order to thrive. I'm going to say that, especially not consistently. And me being a person who is, of conscious mind, I often find myself also in a dissonance in my environment because I'm surrounded by people who are unconscious, or still sleeping, or still surviving, or still existing in a state of that they're not connected to. There are a lot of people that I surround myself with don't understand with a conscious awareness that they are in the driver's seat of their own life. And if they do understand that some of the places they are driving their life to, it's scary to me. But that's a whole nother story. Yeah. So yeah, just understanding, coming more to a level place of being in the driver's seat of my life again, and being okay with that, because being in the driver's seat before, or deciding to be a passenger, or let me see, co-pilot with others, has not always been a good thing for me, because I have co-piloted with people who have not necessarily known how to pilot, which is not necessarily a smart thing on my behalf, but that comes from me and the dissonance of feeling like, this rainbow colored glass, like everybody has the potential, which they do. But, we have to see it for ourselves individually. And at this point, I'm just rambling, and I don't even care, because I just had to get it out. Sacral chakra work. No more harboring. Got to get it out.